Hi, everybody. Stream Catchers coming at you. AB here along with Jack. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
I am feeling good, feeling great. We're here to talk Hawkeye episode 4. Why are you laughing? You're throwing me off here.
I don't know. You came at me with so much energy. I'm excited now.
I thought we were talking before we hit record about bad Nick Cage movies. I thought you were still laughing at him.
It's always rolling around back there in the back of my mind.
Well, folks, like I said, Hawkeye episode 4 gave us quite a bit to talk about. So we're both really excited to chop it up about all of the things that came out. We'll just do our quick hits. I'll throw it off to Jack for thoughts, and we'll go from there. So
let's do it.
As always, folks, we are going to spoil the hell out of the show. So if you don't want spoilers, come back later.
Yeah.
All right. We pick. That was really weird. Just come back later. We're feeling weird today. I don't know. All right. Well, we picked up where episode 3 left off with Jack holding Ronan's sword to Clint's throat. Eleanor is also there, and Clint and Kate explain that they're working together, which doesn't really sit well with Eleanor. Clint learns from his wife, Laura, that Sloan's Limited, which we learned about in episode 3, is a shell company, and Jack is the CEO. Kate spends the evening with Clint bonding, and the next day they go off to get their arrows back, while Clint gets info from Kazi. Clint also learns that the watch from Avengers compound was stolen and has a tracking signal. Kate and Clint go to the apartment that it's located at, and it turns out to be Maya's. Clint is ambushed by a masked figure who turns out to be Yelela, while Kate is ambushed by Maya. A dope battle ensues with Yelela and Maya escaping, while Clint tells Kate he can't work with her anymore in an attempt to keep her safe. That's our episode, how it ends. Jack, give me your thoughts. What'd you think of episode 4?
It was good. It was really good. It moved along quickly. There was they did a lot. They did a lot this episode. Yeah. I'm a little bit disappointed how little we learned about Jack. We did learn that he was the CEO of the shady Sloan's Limited, the company, but even so, like, we still don't know how much, like, how involved in the criminal side of things that he is. Do you know what I mean?
I do, and let's just start right there because I had a lot. I don't know if I had a lot, but I definitely wanted to talk about Jack. So yeah, we find out, like we said, that he is the CEO of Sloan's Limited. But I'm starting to get the feeling that maybe he's not actually a villain here.
Mm-hmm. Because we didn't learn anything because of what we found out, or
it sort of feels like he's a bit of a red herring, does it not?
Yeah, I mean,
do you think it's possible that Eleanor made him the CEO and he doesn't even know about it?
Ooh. Or maybe he knows, but he doesn't know the company is shady, and he just has the CEO title, and she does all the shady business.
Perhaps. I mean, we know from episode 1 where he's talking to Armand and he's making a bid on the suit or the sword, whatever one it was.
Mm-hmm.
And Armand's like, "You don't have that money." He's like, "Well,
yeah.
I'll get it." So if he was the CEO, he would have money.
Yeah.
Especially if it's something that's laundering money, right? It's
right.
So it's
yeah, exactly.
it does kind of lead me to believe that I don't really know what they're doing with him, because they had that other scene where it was after Clint left the apartment. Eleanor and Jack were kind of bantering back and forth, flirting, dancing, and then Kate has like kind of a look in her eye that she's starting to warm up to Jack a little bit, and they're almost kind of they've done two things with him. They've set him up to be this murdering villain, shady guy, but they've also set him up to be this. That scene makes it seem like he's supposed to just be kind of just like a regular guy, like just another dude.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that scene, what you're reading on Kate's face, I was reading as kind of her warming up to the idea of her mom moving on. I guess kind of being happy for her mom for the first time with Jack. I don't know. We're gonna have to see more to find out if Kate trusts him at all any more than she did. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't think she does, because that scene happens and then she goes to the apartment where Clint's at, and they've got that whole dry erase board, or not really a dry erase board, but the
The
board
poster.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. He's like, I don't think that's dry erase. She's writing on it, and she's like, how do we tie all this to Jack? So it seems like she's still trying to
Right.
fit the puzzle pieces in to make it all point to him.
Yeah.
And
But that's because but she finds out that Jack is the CEO of this shell company
exactly
in between the scenes where she's, kind of hanging out with Mom and Jack and that scene. So she finds out in between there. So I guess when she found out, she relit that vendetta fire. I guess, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Right, I agree. Because that scene at Eleanor's penthouse apartment happens. She goes to see Clint. He tells her that Jack is the CEO, and then they start planning on how they're going to figure everything out. So I agree. I don't think we have enough, but I think that there's enough there that I doubt really what his involvement is.
Yeah.
And the more I think about it, the more I'm leaning towards Eleanor is sort of the main villain of the show. Like Kingpin obviously is
Save for Kingpin, yeah.
Right. He's obviously like the main guy, but Eleanor,
he's for this show, he's the man behind the curtain, whereas
exactly
Eleanor is the villain that Yeah.
He's the man behind the curtain. He's the Oz. She's the Wicked Witch of the West.
Yeah, exactly.
So to speak. I guess that's probably not the perfect analogy, but
I think you nailed it.
Well, because I just feel like, Clint leaves. She makes that phone call. You can assume that is either directly Kingpin or someone in the tracksuits. Because she says, "Hey, we've got a problem." She even tries to get Clint to back off because she probably knows what they're looking into. And it is odd that she is associated with this shell company that Jack is the CEO of, and you feel like she would know that, and whether or not he actually is the CEO or she set him up to be the CEO under his nose, she's up to something, man. It feels like she is working with Kingpin and laundering money for him or to him or is paid by him, something.
Yeah, and she was able to, disguise all of her, when she was talking to Clint about backing off this case, she was able to mask that in her, care for her daughter, like back off of my daughter, stay away from my daughter. You don't need to mess around with this. This is my family, all this. But what she's really saying is, stay out of my business,
exactly.
Move on, get out of New York. Yeah.
There is something to her. There's some shadiness there. I think if you go all the way back to the first episode in 2012 when they're, doing the Chitauri invasion, where she's kind of gone for a while, pops up, doesn't really seem upset about the, missing Kate's father. And then of course, the ties to Jack and whether or not he's shady, plus the whole Armand situation. It does feel like she's tied to Kingpin in some way, whether she's working for him, directly under him. I don't know, but it does feel like she's sort of the main villain here.
They established earlier that the penthouse apartment that the scene was at, that's been in the family for generations, right?
I believe so. I believe it was a generational thing.
Do you remember if they said if that was on mom's side or dad's?
I don't, but we do know that they got some sort of money for his death, right? That was that allowed them to keep the penthouse. So
yeah, I don't remember if they said that explicitly, but I know we surmised it.
Okay, actually, I think it would be on his side because she was confirmed to grow up poor.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Remember that? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now that I think about it, she definitely was. Yeah. Okay. So it would make sense that she doesn't want to go back to that lifestyle. So
for sure,
maybe she kills. What's her father's name?
I don't know. I don't even think I wrote it down.
Mr. Bishop, we'll just say. She
Mr.
kills
Bishop.
Mr. Bishop. Makes it look.
I think his name was Goatee Bishop.
Goatee. Nicolas Cage Bishop is the
Nick Cage.
All right.
So
Well,
before we move on, when Clint gets on the elevator after he hashes it out with Eleanor, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that he took the Ronin sword with him.
he did. Yeah, he did.
He did. Okay. I watched that. I backed it up a couple times. It was dark on my phone. I couldn't see it. I was watching this at work, and I thought I heard the sound that it makes when it retracts. Okay, cool. I'm glad he's got it.
They show him holding it up, and you see it pretty clearly. Yeah.
Do you?
So
Okay, cool.
yeah. He tucks it back in his back pocket. We don't see it again. So he definitely has it back. We'll see. That's a good thing to watch for too. Is if Jack notices it's gone, I'm sure he will, and kind of. I think that'll be a big piece in figuring out really where he lays into all this and how intentional he is on getting that sword back.
Yeah. And it's interesting now, too, because Clint has both the suit and the sword.
That's right. That's right. And we know that's kind of his main priority is clearing the Ronin. Of course, now things are starting to escalate quite a bit. I'll be really curious to see sort of what the final battle, so to speak, is, or I guess the climax of the show, and how things get resolved and how they spin off into other branches. As we know, there's a lot coming out of this. So it'll be really curious to see over these next 2 episodes, how things get resolved.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we get one more Ronin appearance. I don't know what the function would be yet, but I mean, he could fake his death. He could have a dramatic unmasking. I don't know what's in store, but I do think that him having the sword and the suit's not a coincidence.
Fair, right? Yeah, you got it back pretty early. That's something to watch for, I think, and that would be a really interesting way to. That actually is a really good thing because if he fakes his death, number one, that clears Kate full and total of ever being the Ronin.
Yeah.
If he fakes his death, only Kate and Yelela know he was Ronin, and he can resolve the Yelela issue of Widow's death, of Natasha's death separately. Yeah. And if Ronin is dead, that backs Maya off as well. And then we don't have to deal with the awkwardness of him killing her father.
Yeah, that's true.
That's actually a really good way to sort of wrap that plot line up, but the rest of it is definitely interesting too.
Yeah.
Well,
alrighty.
A major part of this episode, I'm sure you're itching to talk about this, was the watch from Avengers Compound.
Yeah. So that was kind of the mission, right? Is recovering the watch from Maya's. All they have is the address. They have no idea that they're breaking into Maya's apartment.
Right.
But yeah, they've got it back. They know that it's. I mean, it's no secret at this point that there's something to the watch. It's some sort of device. It's got a homing beacon on it. Why would it have a homing beacon on it if it was nothing? But here's it's not a theory, but I do think that the watch and Yelena's bit in this show, her function in the show, are tied together because of when she comes into the scene. I think that she could have been introduced early. Like, okay, so what we were left with at the end of Black Widow is Yelena's mission to kill Clint, I guess, to get revenge for her sister.
From Val, right?
From Val, exactly. Her mission from Val. What if there's a different part of the mission that has to do with this watch?
I hadn't thought of that. And I actually really like that because I was willing to let it go, but it was a little coincidental that she happened to be on the rooftop at night across from Maya's apartment.
Right when they get the watch.
So I do like that there may be some ties to that. Yeah. I've seen a lot of people theorize that the watch actually may belong to Laura, Clint's wife.
Okay.
So we don't know really anything about her outside of the fact that she is married to Clint.
Speaks Russian, apparently.
Was that right? I thought that was German.
Was it German? Oh, it might have been. I have no idea.
Okay, because I know you watched with subtitles, so I didn't know if it.
It didn't say.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure because it was subtitled in the show. They're usually, if they do subtitles in the show, they won't put any subtitles, any descriptive. But if within the show there's like background noise and you can hear somebody speaking a different language, it'll say like murmured German or something
Sure.
like that. Yeah.
Sure. At first, I thought it was Russian, but then the second time I watched it, it sounded like it was German. Whatever it was, she speaks
Okay.
another language
Yeah.
and has the ability to find things. Like she was able to find the watch. She was able to
Hmm.
track that down, right? So there's something. There seems like there might be something more to her. Also, the fact that
Yeah.
she knows Natasha very well. Obviously, he's very close with her. Clint is, but she knows
Hmm.
a lot about Natasha. Natasha knew a lot about her. I mean, it's not a far-fetched theory, I don't think.
The only thing that I can, or the only counterpoint that I would have to that is that if she's so involved in Clint's
Mhm.
real, like, spy life, that she would need to know certain things to get Clint out of jams. Or if Clint goes missing, she's got to know avenues to get in touch with him. Um, but I mean, other than that, I mean, it's quite possible she's an agent of something.
A
Not.
former agent, yeah, maybe she was a former agent of Shield. She retired because
Yeah.
they had kids, and maybe they do have avenues to help each other out. Maybe there is some sort of a tracking mechanism or something like that. I don't know. Um,
Hmm.
it's something to watch for, no pun intended. But I
Hmm.
think that there definitely is something to do with the watch. He says in it was somebody he used to work with, and he says that the person's identity is tied to the watch. So
Yeah.
that implies that he doesn't want their identity to come out.
Hmm.
So maybe it's him being Ronin, although I feel like he would be a bit more
Mm,
outward about that. But I can't imagine it would be like Tony, because Tony Stark was obviously out about being Iron Man.
right.
People know that Natasha was a Black Widow. Everybody knows Steve Rogers
All
was.
the only clue that we have is that he said a long time ago, right? Like, he didn't
Yeah,
even. I don't even think he gendered the person.
I don't. He didn't. He just said this person.
Yeah. Man, it's a wild goose
So
chase.
it's a very interesting plot thread that they kind of created here, because there's already so much going on in the show between the chemistry of Clint and Kate, Maya's story. We've got Yelena in now. Who's uncle? What's going on with Eleanor? What's going on with Jack? Now we've got this watch that we're dealing with. There's just this is not a gripe. This is actually more of a compliment. There's so much that
Hmm.
has our attention here,
Yeah.
and
Well, it
and
makes
I'm
sense with where we are in the show too.
yeah,
4 episodes
it.
along in a 6 episode series. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. So we're really getting right. This episode was mostly a setup episode to get us charging into these last two, and it
Hmm.
sounds like episode 5 is going to be quite a banger, from what
Yeah.
I've seen from other people. Although there were people that were saying we were going to get a post credit scene this week that we did not get, so that was a little disappointing too.
Mm. I always check. I don't know about you.
What do you mean before
I
the?
always check to make sure if there's a post credit scene. I always scrub to
I
between the
do,
credits. I always scrub to after the credits. I'm conditioned by Marvel.
I do. I'm the same way. Yeah, and I feel like there has been. I feel like low key episode 4 had a post credit scene. Was that the one where they saw the low
I
key
don't remember
theory?
specifically, but yeah, I do know that there have been post credit scenes in the shows
Yeah,
before,
I know
so I
for sure
might as well
Falcon
just
Winter
check.
Soldier. Yeah, exactly. So either way, there wasn't this week, so maybe next week is our big Kingpin reveal.
Hmm. I would. That'd be awesome. That'd be great. Even if it's just a well, okay. So I mean, it would be the perfect opportunity to have it at the very end of the episode. Make it be the cliffhanger.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. I think that the theory was that this week he would have been the post credit scene, and maybe the thought is they didn't want to overshadow Yelena coming in, since she was sort of the big reveal at the end.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And it was at the end. So if they had done a post credit scene, it would have been like Yelena and then 5 minutes later upstaged by Kingpin. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it is
Okay.
if that was the case, it is good that they are saving it for next week. And I feel like that there's enough going on that we don't absolutely have to have Kingpin in the mix of it, as long as we know he's in the background and involved in some capacity, and we at some point see him. I think is really
Hmm.
all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah. So, all right, let's go over the very, very end, like the end of the episode. Kate gets kicked off the roof and then is suspended in the air. Clint cuts her loose and says, "Get on out of here. You know, your part in this is done." Kind of, pretty much like not betraying her, like you looking out for her safety, but she's, Kate's gonna be pissed, obviously.
Oh,
she
yeah.
runs back up onto the roof, helps Clint out with the rest of the fight. Maya and Yelela get away. Who has the watch? I can't remember. Does Clint save the watch?
I think so.
Or does Kate still have it?
Kate gets it out of Maya's apartment, throws it in her pocket, gets away from Maya. They never get it away from her, so she should have the watch.
Okay, cool. All right. That's I don't know what the hell this watch is, man. I really don't. I've been trying to come up with theories.
I'm hoping it's not another Mephisto, Ralph Boner, Sharon Carter thing. Like I'm hoping that I'm trying to keep those expectations a little low here, because it might just be as simple as it was
just a plot device.
Yeah, So I'm definitely curious to see what they do with it. It is interesting. They've made a point to allude to it at least once, I think, in every episode. Definitely episode 1, definitely this episode, and I think episode 3. So it's been constantly kind of there for us to keep our attention to. So there's something to it. I have no idea. If it doesn't belong to Laura, I have a hard time figuring out what it actually is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I really don't even have a guess this week.
That's all right, man.
We'll see you next time.
I had another thing I wanted to run by you.
Okay.
Do you think we see the LARPers fight the Tracksuit Mafia?
Oh, that would be interesting. I don't know, though. I mean, you would think that the tracksuits would have guns, right?
Yeah, but
what if they're in a beat 'em up mood and they'll have crowbars and baseball bats and
exactly?
Maybe, shoot, I don't know.
So I know
they have been in the show a weird amount, though, to not have some sort of payoff. I mean, I know that this is how they're going to get their costumes, which is cool. But is that it? You might be onto something.
So in the comics, I don't think this is going to be a spoiler or anything. It's in the comics, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be in the show. But in the comics, Grills, who we saw was the one that took the Ronin suit, the fireman in episode 2. Grills, he ends up he's in the run that this show is based on, and Kazi actually kills Grills in the comics. Okay. So I don't know if they're going to go that route here, but maybe that is a thing that they do that brings the LARPers in, and they're like, hey, we gotta avenge our friend, and that Kazi and Maya fight Clint and Kate at the end, and there's a big fun LARP battle with the tracksuits. They're goofy enough. The tracksuits are that you could get away with it. So
yeah, that's true. That's a good point. They're a little besides Kazi, they're very like Batman thug villain type. You know what I mean? Like Joker gang, Penguin gang, like from like the Arkham gang games or something.
From when you're in stealth mode and you can hear them talk on the ground
and they're just idiots bumbling around.
Exactly. Yeah. That's the vibe I get with the tracksuits too. So that would be a fun little final battle at the end. I don't know.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Well, I don't have much more as far as notes go on this episode. Did you have anything else you wanted to touch on?
No, I'm spent. That's all I wrote down was Ronin sword costumes, Rolex, arrow, Yelela. So we covered everything I wanted to talk about.
Good deal. Yeah. Oh, actually, I'm glad you brought up arrow. Do you think Kate is gonna make a boomerang arrow?
They did talk about it for a while, didn't they?
In the comics, they have a boomerang arrow, and that's actually when they're on the bridge in the comics, and he shoots the Hank Pym arrow. In the comics, they actually shoot a boomerang arrow, and that's how they get away.
No kidding. Oh man, maybe I don't know I don't know what that'll look like. I'd be interested to see the artwork in the comic, but that'd be cool. I'd be down. That's a really good idea.
I think it'd be fun.
Start making her own trick arrows and have that be the debut of the of the trick arrows.
I think it could be fun. I think we definitely see her do that coin trick at the end.
Oh, that was so cool, wasn't it? Let's take a step back. Them celebrating Christmas together, kind of makeshift, because they both need it. They both need to blow off some steam. They went through whatever 3 or 4 pitchers of drinks,
margaritas, daiquiris.
Yeah, whatever they were. Yeah, that looked fun.
It did. I
It needs
really
a
liked
little
that
bonding.
scene. I like that scene, yeah, because it strengthened their relationship. It got pretty real too, where Clint he confided that he was the Ronin. He got real about Natasha. That was a bit of a tense moment that ultimately kind of had him start
Opening
explaining. Up. Yeah, okay, yeah, I'm not a hero. I'm a weapon. I was the Ronin. We all dealt with the blip in the way that we did, and he, she even looked like she almost was appalled by him for a minute until he said, "Hey, I really appreciate what you did tonight for me. It means a lot." So that was a major point for their relationship, and it really made the end a bit harsher too, to where, yeah, like you said, he cuts her down, says, "Get out of here." That had to be a bit of a heartbreaker. And then of course he's even though he's doing it for her safety, he's like, "You got to stop. I'm not going to have somebody else's death on my conscience." Because I don't know if you caught it, but when she's hanging by the wire off the roof, they play the same music that Natasha.
I did notice that.
Yeah. They played that song twice in this episode. So
yeah, that was a rough one.
Yeah, pretty intense. Well, that's really all I had for this week. I think this was more of a setup episode for what are probably going to be 2 really hot episodes. And I guess to sort of wrap it up, let's talk about what we know real quick. We know Clint, his motivation is to clear the Ronin name, and we know that he has interest in the watch. We know that Kate wants to prove that Jack is distrustful. We know Maya wants revenge against the Ronin for killing her father, who was a former tracksuit. We know that Eleanor seems shady, and maybe she was the real murderer of Armand. We don't really know much about what's going on with Jack. We know the tracksuits and their boss want the watch. We know that Clint and Kate have it back. And we know that Yelela wants revenge against Clint for killing, I use that with quotes, Natasha, and that Val sent her. So there's still a lot that we got to find out here. But so far, man, I think Hawkeye has been my favorite show out of Marvel so far. I've really, really been enjoying this one. This episode was great, and I'm so excited for next week.
I would say, depending on how the series or season ends, I agree. I think that this is shaping up to be probably the best Marvel show so far.
Yeah, from everything from Haley Steinfeld's performance so far as Kate Bishop, which has been phenomenal, and the depth that
she's so likable. She's so relatable and likable.
She really is, and you really feel that she likes or loves being a part of the Marvel universe and wants to be there and is relishing everything that she has. And her chemistry with Jeremy Renner has been so strong. And between the introduction of Echo and the looming hopeful appearance of Kingpin and all these moving pieces, this show has been a joy to watch. And I can't wait for Wednesdays whenever I can watch the next episode.
So. I know. Well, next week hopefully we'll get some lines with Yelela. She didn't get a speaking role in this episode. Hopefully, I want to know her motivations. I want to know what's up, man. I just want her to switch sides and help him out.
I agree. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to seeing how Clint's able to get through to her and say, "No, I didn't kill Natasha. I wanted to be the one to die."
Yeah.
And there's a lot to look forward to. So I think that's all for us this week, though, folks. We'll catch you back next week. If you want to support the podcast, of course, the best way to do that is to share with your friends. Let them know what we're doing over here. If you know anybody that loves Marvel or Star Wars, we'd love to talk to them about it. If you want to follow us along on social media, all the links to those are in the show notes. If you're on YouTube, feel free to leave us a like, comment, subscribe, all the fun stuff. We really appreciate the support. And thanks to those of you that have been listening and supporting us so far. We really appreciate it.
Yeah. We will catch you later.
Peace.